Hi guys, thanks for joining me. We're going to be making a Calla lily in this video, and as always I will quickly run through tools, equipment and materials, and then we'll jump straight into the project. There are materials available in a kit, there is a template set, or there is a combo deal, and all of this is available on the website, which is mumsmakery.co.uk. So what are you going to get in the kit? To start with, you're going to get your fluff, and these colours are white, moss and daffodil. You're going to get some pipe cleaners, some wires and some wooden dowels. And also in the kit there is going to be some florist tape and some felt as wax. This is going to be if you want to actually wax the stamen. That's entirely optional, but I've included it just in case. The template set comprises of 3 templates: your leaf, your Calla lily petal shape, and this little tube here, which will also help you create your stamens. Tools, you're going to need obviously your felting surface, and if you're using obviously a white tool, you want to make sure that your surface is really nice and clean. You're going to need your felting needles, and as always I do recommend a little pocket scale like this one that you can pick up quite cheaply on eBay, which will help you weigh out very small increments of wool. That's tools and materials covered. Let's hop right into the project. I'm going to begin with the main petal template shape, and this is quite a large shape. So what I recommend that you do just initially while you're getting yourself going with this template is use a couple of your spare needles and just peg it out a little bit on your foam. This will stop it from moving around because we've got to fill quite a space there. The wool that we're using is our white, and our white is a very white. You're going to need 5 grams for this template. Obviously if you're using your own wool, those weights and measures may differ slightly, but I'm going to be using 5 grams. That's how much I've got here. I'm going to go through the sort of filling the template, not really in depth. We're just going to kind of sort of whiz through it. This video is mainly going to be on the construction. The templates themselves are relatively easy. You just need to make sure that you get a good even covering over the whole template. So with that in mind, I'm going to pull off just a bit of the white and put it to one side, and grab a couple of extra needles. There we go. Okay, so pop a little bit to one side, and we're going to use this just in case we've got any thin spots. We're going to sort of bring that in right at the end and just start popping the wool in the template. Very, very light stabs. All we're doing is we're just placing it at the moment. Little bit of adhesion to the surface will just help. I'm just going to take that out, bring some wool right up into that tip. And cover it, making sure you get right up to those edges. This wool blends beautifully over itself. So putting it down incrementally is really useful. Where you're overlapping with the previous part, just feather ever so slightly, lay it down. There we go. I'm going to take these out because they're going to get in the way of the viewing, but you may decide that you don't want to use the needles to help pin it down. Sometimes I find it a little useful, otherwise my template goes a-wandering. So nice even cover. And you can hear I'm crunching through the very, very top layer of the surface, but I'm not driving my needle in. This is a big surface and we don't want that stuck down to the surface. It would be a nightmare to get off. So around that bottom curve. I can already feel that I've got a little thin spot there, so bring in my extra. A little bit more. And you'll take your time with this, probably a little more than I am. I try to sort of power through it for the expediency of doing this on camera. But once you've got, I've been using a 40 spiral. It's a very nice light thin needle. So once you've got your sort of base, I'm just going to lift that up, and don't worry, it will go misshapen again. Just hold it up to the light, make sure there are no extreme thin spots, then pop it back into the template. So I've just adjusted the overhead camera because it was having a complete fit. But there we go. Back into the template. And then just work it over again. Pay attention to your edges. I'm going to bring in my multi-tool, and these usually come with 3 needles, but I take one out and just use the 2 because then you've still got a straight line rather than that one that's offset. And again, I'm not driving right into my foam. You're going to work over this until you've got a nice crisp. This wool's really, really nice. You get a real nice crisp felting. Take it out, lift it up again. You can see it's starting to hold its shape a little bit more now. I'm taking it out. You can see I've got a thin spot here. So back in. Work the edges and use your little top up bit. And if you use all of this and you find that you've still got a couple of thin spots, just pull yourself off an extra little pinch. The weights and measures are a really good guideline, but if you need to add in an extra pinch or two on something this size, it doesn't make that much difference. Okay, so you get the idea. Keep going until you're happy with it. And as I said, you want a nice crisp kind of felting. And you just keep taking it in and out so it doesn't stick to your surface. Work over it. You could use a multi-tool, one of the punches, but I don't recommend that you do that on a foam surface. You'll need either the brush or rice bag or a felted felting surface if you want to use one of these. It tends to break a lot if you use it on straight foam. So you are going to keep working your Calla lily shape until, here's one I made earlier, and you're going to keep working it until you've got a good sort of flat finish. This one has also been ironed, so don't think you've got to felt it to this level. You want to just, you know, nice firm crispness all over, and then we're going to iron it, so that's when it will come out all beautifully thin. But I just wanted to skip over that part because I'm going to create the whole leaf with you, because that's got an armature. To make the leaf armature, you've got some options. You're going to need your pipe cleaners, and you can do it with or without the additional wires. It depends how soft you want it. This is one that just has the pipe cleaners in, and it is lovely and soft. You get some really sort of soft curves and curls on it. Depending on what you're going to do, you may want sort of a little bit of extra rigidity if you want to do something dramatic with the leaf. So with that in mind, I've included pipe cleaners and wires. The armature template is, or the layout is exactly the same, and I'm going to show you how you do it with both. There's going to be, I've made a pattern, so you've got that. Okay, this is quite a large template, so you're going to need 2 pipe cleaners. So just pop them side by side. Take the top, what is this, about 7 centimeters it looks like, and just twist those. Round like that, and that's going to form this top bit here. if you're just using pipe cleaners, at this point you would just follow around like so and twist off the bottom, and you would end up with your shape. If you want to add in the wire, we do that at this point. So you've wound your 7 centimeters at the top, and then open it out nice and straight. Get about the middle of your wire and just wrap the pipe cleaner one way from the center, and then wrap the pipe cleaner off the other way. And that is going to really strengthen this sort of center loop bit. Then bring the whole thing back round. Get a nice bend at the top there. Pop it on the pattern. And then twist off there. That's a sort of additionally reinforced leaf armature. This lily that I've done, this just, I think this has got a wire in it as well, because I wanted I can't feel what's in here. It may be just a pipe cleaner actually. But have a play with it. You've got enough pipe cleaners and wires in your kit to do at least 3 of these. But you can see it just, I wanted it to curl round the lily, so for this little sort of short display piece. Okay, so template time. You'll notice that the template actually has a wiring hole at both ends, and I think the petal does as well. And I've started doing that because several months from now I'll pick up this template and go, oh, this will be great for doing this, if only I had a wiring hole at the other end and I could use it up the other way. So in order to make these as versatile as possible, I have just now as standard started putting in wiring holes everywhere I can. So green wool, moss colour, and the leaf template will take 4 grams of the moss, so I'll get that weighed out. So I've got my 4 grams weighed out here, and when you do any armature in one of these templates, we put the first layer down, then the armature, then the top layer. So I'm going to pull this wool roughly in half, and like with the petal template, just going to start base cover. Nice even layer, and this is going to be about 2 grams that go in first. And we're not going to be felting down this layer quite so crisply, because we want it to join to and sandwich to the other layer above. I'll do this as quickly as I dare, but I want to make sure that we cover all the elements. It's a nice good covering. Get that right up into the top. And again, not driving through into the foam. Nice light grip on the needle. And just work all over. You can again bring in a multi-tool. Once you've got that sort of first layer pegged in, I'm just going to lift that. It's a thicker up here than it is down there. Grab my rest of my 2 grams, pull off a bit more. It's a nice even covering. That's what we're aiming for. There. Still a little thin down there. You can use your finger as a depth stop. You know, just pop your finger, and when your finger hits that, you know that you're only penetrating by so much. That's perhaps a good little trick and tip to have. Right, let's pull that off. That's a nice even covering. So back in. There we go. Okay, so once you've got there, and this is, just pull it all back out again, but this is just loosely felted. You can see it's not crisp and it's not stiff. Let me just stuff that back in. So once you've got that, then we're going to put our pipe cleaner armature into place. So I just realised that the bit wasn't up at the end. Okie dokie. And we're going to use the wiring hole that's down at this end. So just pop it through. Pull the whole thing down and nestle it into place. Oh, we are going to need to bend back this tip. I do apologise, I completely forgot about that. Just so we haven't got a sharp, pointy wire out the end, and it is just a nick of, find the tops of your 2 wires. Mine are a little offset, so I'm going to cut them off at the same level. See, there are my 2 wires. just pinch them together and just turn back that top, and that way the wires are pointing back down into the project, and if you touch the end of the leaf you're not going to have a wire protrude. Because this has got a loop in it, we're not going to need to glue it. So back to popping that in like so. Just going to lift the whole thing up a second. There. And there you've got your pipe cleaner armature, or wire and pipe cleaner armature, and that's about where you want it. Nothing goes right to the very, very tip or right to the very, very outside. You want to be able to fill in and encapsulate these wires with more wool. Okay, so the other 2 grams of the 4, and I'm going to start at the tip. Just get these other needles out of the way. So I'm just going to pull off a bit, start right at the very tip and join to the bottom layer. Obviously we're going to be careful now because we've got that wire in there, so I would recommend single needle. And what I'm doing, you can hear the crunching. It's such a new mat, but that's where I'm going, so it's not driving right down, because all you'll do is you'll push everything right out the other side. And I've even got a slight angle on my needle. There we go. And just cover it all the way down. Pay particular attention to the edges, making sure you get a like a good join. And don't worry if you can see a little bit of the pipe cleaner. I'm going to keep just a little bit of this back so we can do that touch up. Just pull off. So we're working it all over. I think I might need a new needle. In fact, I'm going to just go up a size to my 38 spiral. It's a little bit thicker. I do recommend sort of the 38s, 40s, 36 is the biggest I use, particularly if you're a beginner. Go with the thinner needles rather than the thicker needles because it gives you time to work the wool. If you've got a needle that's felting it super fast, you're not seeing how that wool is reacting to the needle, and it can go too quickly. They're almost covered. So now I'm using the 38 spiral. You can feel it coming together a lot quicker. And we're going to be careful around this wiring hole where all of those wires are meeting. If you get your wires, your needle stuck in your wire, don't panic, just wiggle it very gently, it will give. Find where your needle goes through. Can hear hitting the wires there, but because I've got a nice loose grip and I'm not trying to javelin throw the needle through the wool, the needle will just stop. Got a little bit of a line where I've joined, so good tip where you've got a bit of a line, just use the tip of your needle and scratch the fibres. And it fuzzes out the edge, and then you can go over it and it creates a more seamless blend. Okay, so that's getting there. I've got a couple of little white bits, so I'm just going to grab a pinch, fluff out all round. The main bulk of the wool is over the white. I'm just going to fluff out those edges and go round. And out of the 4 grams, I've still got this. So don't feel you have to use every last little bit. See what feels right. I like to keep a little bit in reserve because as I start felting down, you might see another little bit of white coming through. And once you've got this nice and covered, then we're going to take it out, turn it over. I've only been working one side at the moment. I do apologise if any of this has gone off camera with the longer and bigger templates. I forget to move to keep it in the middle, so I like the smaller templates. But there we go. Okay, turn it over and then work the other side nice and lightly, and now you shouldn't really be penetrating the foam at all. I'm just going to work. And again, you want it firm. You know, it needs to be holding itself when we take it out of the template. Don't want it loose and stretchy, but the ironing is going to you know, really sort of thin it out, make it a beautifully slim leaf. And same with the petal, like I showed you just now. You can see that the surface is beautifully smooth, and the thickness of the actual thing is, and that's 5 grams. That's a whole 5 grams. I now like my iron again. I don't iron shirts and things. I iron petals. There we go. So that is about where I want it to be. I know this one's been a little bit more drawn out, but I wanted to go this one completely start to finish because of the armature. And they're very simple armatures, so completely doable for you know, beginners. So I'm going to take that out of my template, and you can see it's really chunky. Got a little bit of pipe cleaner showing up here, so I'm just going to take a bit, add a little bit in just to cover that pipe cleaner, and then I'm just going to put that back in the tip and then use the template to seal in the rest of those fibres in the right place. There we go. No more white bit. So my edges are a bit fluffy. I'm going to go, now they're out of the template, I'm just going to go round on a sort of a bit of an angle. Just very quickly all the way round. And you don't want to be doing that if you're, the wool will go the way you point your needle. So if I'm going to do, and I'm going to do the edges, and I do that, do you see how it starts making a dent there? And I don't want that. So it's an angle, but I'm just catching the edge. Let's move this around, get close. I'm just catching the edgy fibres. Once we've ironed, we will take a little pair of scissors just to trim off the really wild bits. But there we go, that's the leaf. You can see it's super chunky, but that's okay, because we're going to take that and turn it into, not quite that because it's got a pipe cleaner in it, but it's going to be a lot thinner. Okay, so break out the iron. You want it hot, lots of steam, and then we're going to iron your petal, and however many leaves you've done, however many petals you've done, then we're going to iron them all together. So I've tried to set this up so you can really see what the ironing does. I've got my iron here and it's on linen setting, so it's super hot, and I've got steam up to maximum. And here's the leaf that we made. And when you iron, you don't want to drive it back and forth, you just want pressure. We're going to move it around a little bit, but obviously the more pressure you put on it and the more you move it around, the more it may distort your fibres. So with smaller things, it's just sort of press and a little wiggle. But as this is a longer leaf, we can elongate the fibres a little bit, and that's fine. So iron, press down, and I'm going to go back and forth just a little bit, and you can probably see that it's already coming down. So I'm just backing and forthing a little bit, lots of steam, and then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to do that a few times on each side. Just until then you can really see now how thin that is compared to the chunkiness that was before. So go through and iron all your parts, and then we're just going to tidy up the edges. So now everything's all ironed, we're going to trim up the edges, and I've just got a little pair of nail scissors. It's just these really wild bits. We're not cutting into the thing itself, but we're just going to take off and trim round. You can see the difference in the edge. So just go round like so. Till you're happy with it. You could even sort of pop this back under the iron once you've trimmed, if you want. There you go, one beautifully thin Calla lily leaf. In this section we're going to be making the stamen part, and you've got two options when making the stamen. You can just make it out of wool. I believe there are plastic ones that sort of fake ones that you can buy, or you can do a woolen wax. As many of you know, I love waxing things, so I'm going to show you how to do the wool and the woolen wax, and then obviously you can pick whichever method suits you. The little tube that you get in the template kit is what you need, and this is our daffodil coloured wool, and there's 0.5 grams of this colour. And all I'm going to do is just break off little bits and start stuffing it in the tube. I'm going to use the opposite end of my needle just to get it started, and just get it down in and felt it very lightly. Then break off another bit. Get that down in and felt that right through to the first piece. And then it's just going to be rinse and repeat that until we've got all of this in here. And you do want to use all of it. That's going to give you a really sort of nice, good solid centre. Felting it down. And you've got enough wool to, you know, play with this in the kit as well, so have a go at making a few. And then I'm going to go right down, right around the edges, a bit more. You could make the centres out of, you know, anything. You know, you could use clay. Whatever's your preferred medium. I do feel that the waxing gives a very realistic finish. So I'm going to turn it over, just check what's going on the other end. That's good. Really drive down. Oops, bent my needle. Really drive down. Last little bit. I might not fit all of this in, but we'll see. The kind of last bit you want to felt so it's just ever so slightly bulging out the top, because we're going to use that to make a round dome. Let's see, that needle's far too thick. Back to the non-bent 40 spiral. Tucking it all in, going round that edge. And this will give you pretty much the exact length. It's about, I think the tube is about 35 mil. So there we go. We've got that sort of domed bit at the top. I'm just piercing with the first barb on the needle. I'm not driving down. Just tucking this all in. Let's go through from the other side, turn it upside down, drive the bottom back up. And if this has all been felted nicely, it should, drum roll please, come out like so. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the sides this way as well, and then just roll the thing. If you want, you can add, see I've got some stripes, that doesn't matter, but if you wanted to, you could lay some wool over the top and go over it. I'm going to be waxing this, so these little kind of layers aren't going to matter to me too much. And creating this little stamen is a, if you're new to the felter's wax, it's a great little sort of first dip in the toe in the water, so to speak, of using the felter's wax, because it's a very simple little wax job. Okay, so I've got my stamen sausage shape. I'm just going to felt it down a little bit firmer. I mean, you can absolutely create this without the use of that tube. I've included it simply as a, it's there if you want it. So we've got this really nice yellow stamen, and this is very firmly felted, very firmly. In fact, I'm just going to go back in a little more, work on that little dome top, and you can at any point pop it back in the tube. Use it to help you. There we go. And push it back out. So that's where you want that to be. A really nice, solid, very firm stamen. And it's about the length of the tube, so it's about 35 ml. Okay. So I've had the wax melting. So I'm just going to get set up and put down some greaseproof paper. And then we're going to wax this little bad boy. So my wax is almost melted. So I'm going to prep my stamen. You could do this either way round, I think. You can, this is going to get stuck on the end of here like this. So you can stick it on now and then wax it, or you can wax and then stick it. I prefer to do it this way. So while I'm still waiting for the last little bit of my wax to melt, I'm just going to put some super glue and then take the not domed end and stick that on there. I'm just going to hold it for a few seconds. Oh, no, it doesn't want to stick. Hold it for a few seconds more. As many of you know, I have no patience with glue. There we go, that's stuck. So I'm going to leave that there for another 5 minutes while that finishes off doing its thing. And then we're going to come back and wax the tip. So we're going to pretend that 5 minutes have passed. It's actually more been 30 seconds, but yeah, that's okay. I'm happy with that. It'll stick. It'll be fine. Okay, you're going to need a thing. You could use a lolly stick, or one of those coffee stirrer sticks would be good. This is an artist's paint mixer thing, and I like this, so that you can see this is generally what I use for waxing. All you need is a thing to get the wax from there onto here that isn't your finger. So we're going to apply little bits of wax onto this. We're not just going to take or dump a whole load. We're not going to dip it. We're just going to take some wax and just run it along. And turn it a little, scoop up some more. You can always add more. Adding less or taking some away is more tricky. So my advice is little bits at a time. And then we're going to drop some right on that tip. Just going to dab it on. And then come down to the bottom. And I'm not going right down to the very bottom at the moment. And then the messy part, just grab your fingers. And don't be tempted to hold, if you're doing it this way, don't be tempted to hold the stick, otherwise you'll pull it off. But that's all it needs. A couple of little sort of potholes there, so tiniest little touch of wax. I'm giving this a sort of a little bit of a pinch not squeezing the life out of it. And this is where, if you've felted it quite loosely, when you pinch and you squeeze it, the wax will just kind of go into all of the little air gaps and it will thin down quite a bit. So there, a little bit just needs touching up just there. And make sure you've got that nice sort of dome at the top. A little bit too much wax build up around the top, so I'm just going to scrape some off. You can see the hairs are popping out, so just chop it off, tap it. There we go. That's a one Calla lily stamen centre. Now, if you do get any large build-ups of white, I'm just scraping mine off, but gentle application of heat, so a hairdryer or something of that ilk, will remelt the wax in situ, and it will just sink into the wool a little bit more and disperse. I like a little bit of cloudy on my stamen. I just think it looks good. There. Where's my other lily? There you can see it's got some clouding. But if you want to bring more of the yellow through, then just apply some heat in the form of a hairdryer. A heat gun will do it too, but you need to definitely hold that further away if it's not temperature adjustable. And just get that until you're happy. And you know, to be fair, if you completely mess it up and you need to do it again, just rip this off and you know, glue on another bit. But there, that's a very quick and easy waxed stamen for your Calla lily. So now we're going to start assembling the whole thing. To start the assembly, you're going to grab your sort of petal, and we're going to create sort of a diffused transition between the white lily and the green stem, like this one. And to do that, I'm just going to grab a pinch of white and a pinch of green, and I'm going to hand blend. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with hand blending, you'll note that a lot of carded wools and stuff and blends have been done on either hand carders or on a carding machine. For little bits like this, to hand blend, just lay the fibres together, pull them apart and stack them. Pull them apart and stack them. Pull them, stack, then turn them round, pull and stack, and then just really go for it and mess them all up. And the idea is to blend those fibres together, and this is absolutely fine for, you know, small little bits like this. I certainly wouldn't want to hand blend whole bats of wool, but that's a very nice light colour. And then we're just going to take our blend and just overlap it ever so slightly. Grab your needle, and we're now doing the thing I say never to do, which is you are driving through, but you don't want to do it too much, not without lifting. And we're just creating a frizzy bit. On the bottom there. If you want to diffuse that line even more, you can just take an extra little pinch of white and go over. Yeah, scratch the fibres around using the very tip of your needle and turn it over and drive back out the other way. The side that you lay this down on will be the outside of the lily, so that will be the bit that you see. And make sure this is really well attached. Yeah, you can see it's all coming out the other side, and that's fine because that's going to be inside and wrapped around that stem. So there we go, that's the first little bit. I'm just going to pull that off. There, we've got that sort of little fluffy bit. Now what I'm going to do is use the rest of this, pull off another pinch of the green and just hand blend that in so that it creates a slightly darker hold it back up. See, what we're doing is we're getting sort of from the white into the green, so I'm going to add in a bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to add on a little bit of that. So I've got this nice fluffy skirt. And then I'm going to felt over this part as well, just to hold those fibres together. And there, we've got that sort of nice transition from the white into the green. So I'm just looking at this, I'm not entirely happy with that second colour. Okay, taken a little bit off, it's a little bit bulky. There we go. So once you've got your sort of starting of your stem in place, I can show you. I'm going to grab your stamen, which is going to go about yay, and then you kind of wrap this over on itself. I'll film this in a couple of different spots so you can get a really good look at it, but that effectively is what's going to happen. So I'm just going to realign some cameras so you can get a really good shot of what I'm doing. I've grabbed my super glue and you need to work out where you want your stamen. But what we're going to do is wrap and wrap like so. So it creates this flute. And then you'll find that these will just naturally unfurl. And I think that is about where I want it. So open it back out. Grab the super glue. And I'm just going to add a few dots. And pull over that first side and wait. And hope I don't stick myself to it. There's actually nothing I can do but sit here and hold this. Is it? No, not quite. Maybe I'll put some background music or something on the elevator music on the video. Don't know. But that's, no, still not stuck. I think it might need a little bit more actually, just in there. Don't be impatient with it like I am. Make sure it's glued and set in place. I might fast forward this bit on the tutorial. Okay, that's mostly there. I think that's good. Yep. Okay. So once you've got that side wrapped over, we're going to do exactly the same on the other side, and just again go back and just make sure, just want to double check how far you want to pull that over. You don't want to, you know, pull it over so tight that you've got a coil up the top. I think about there is good. Back in with the glue. And then hold it down. I'll forward this bit, I will. There we go. It's stuck. Finally. I'll just tidy up the end of my glue there. Okay, so our lily is stuck in place. I'm actually going to put a little bit more glue just in there, just to keep that. Am I? No, it'll be fine. Okay, we're all stuck. And as you can see, there's the lily. That's what we've got to work with. Now, obviously, this is going to depend on your version of the project. I've got this little one that I wanted to do just as a sort of a corsage type size, I guess, or gift size. Maybe put it in a little acetate box, make a beautiful gift. So I cut down the stick before I did all of this, but what you're going to do, we're going to make a full length one, but if you wanted to make a short one, then obviously you just position the leaf right up the top, and here you can see it's just wrapped from there with florist tape. I find the dark green florist tape works quite well with this moss colour. Okay, we have the lily stuck. We're going to grab the leaf. I'm going to zoom out the cameras so that we've got a better overview of the whole thing going on now, and then we're going to finish off the stem and add in the leaf. Included in your kit, there's going to be some florist tape, and again, you've got options. You can just cover the stick in florist tape and finish it that way, or you can wool and wax the stem, which obviously I will do to show you. Grab your leaf, and what you want to do is just strip back these green wires. So I'm going to cut them down short, and then I'm going to bend the wires back in on themselves so that we don't have those pointy ends. Calla lily stems are quite thick, and they stand very upright, which is why we're using a dowel rather than wires. But I don't want to bulk that out too much. So I've unwound the wires there. If you've only got pipe cleaners, then just unwind them back almost to the base of the leaf. Grab yourself a pinch of your moss. Overlap the fluffy onto the leaf. Hold it and just wrap round. And then go back up and fluffy on the other side, and that way you can just felt it into your leaf, and it will hold this nice little leaf stem wrapped. I'm going to go over it. The little one that I did, you can see that the base of the leaf is just incorporated, and I've wound sellotape so you won't need to do this if that's your vision. But as we're doing a full one, the leaf is going to actually stand off of the stem, so we just want to have that little bit of green. There we go. Okay, whether you are just wrapping this in florist tape or you're going to wrap it with wool afterwards, it's a good idea to wrap it in florist tape, because the florist tape, it's sort of sticky, and it will give you something a bit more grippy to wrap for the wool to grab as you're wrapping your stick. So you're going to grab a piece of florist tape, and it doesn't have to be the exact size. It joins to itself very well. And this is the stuff that we have on the site, and it's a paper based florist tape, so it's got a really nice matte finish. There are some that look a bit plastic. Grab the end and you pull and stretch like that, and it goes from dry to sort of sticky. Grab your stick, hold the florist tape down, and then you want to bring it around and lock it on itself, and then on a downward angle you just want to roll the florist tape down your stick all the way to the bottom, and if you run out of tape, grab a bit more, activate the sticky, and then put it back over itself, move up just a little bit, and then carry on down. Oops. Getting myself in a bit of a mess. There we go. And carry on down your stick. You may want to put a couple of layers of florist tape. You can see you get a bit of a stripy effect. You could, I don't know, you could colour in the stick a green colour before you wrap it. There are so many options. I simply couldn't cover them all in a video. But last bit, wind it down to the very end, making sure there are no gaps. And then when you get to the end, just fold it over. It's there. So you can then add another layer of tape to this. This is really now in the realms of what you want to do with it. This is a sticky, so what I'm going to do is just start with wrapping some wool. Now this wool is short fibre, so I'm going to show you a little trick for sort of getting yourself a good piece for wrapping. Grab your wool, and what we're going to do is just draft off the fibres, and then with your needle, so just pulling them out, and then with your needle just stab around a little bit. We're not felting it, we're just kind of giving those fibres a little bit of help, just holding together as a longer piece. Like so. Half an end bit. Okay, so you've got a longer piece just to help with the wrapping. And the way that I would start this is overlap ever so slightly that fluffy bit at the top. And then just bring it round and wrap it on itself. Don't pull too tightly, but work your way down. I'm going to be waxing this, so I don't have to worry too much. And just a little sort of rubbing the fibres into themselves will hold them quite nicely. I'm just going to pop back up to the top, and where I've got that initial overlay, very shallow angle, because obviously we've got that wooden dowel in there, but I just want to attach the top fibres. So just going round very slowly. Find where the needle goes through. That's really all we need. If you've got any sort of baggy bits, you can just touch it with the needle, but it doesn't need it if we're waxing it. So I'm going to get another bit of this, as we did before, just draft it out. And the pieces that I'm making up here are probably about, I don't know, 12 centimetres in length. There we go. Just making sure it's nice and, you know, a bit more secure. Let me go back to where we left off. Do a little overlap. Bring it round, lock it on itself, carry on down. Now at this point, I'm going to use my needle, and this is pretty much horizontal. Don't want to drive them too much, otherwise it will just move all of the fibres up the stick, but just want to get that overlap. So I'm thinking about here is where I'm going to put my leaf. Like so. My leaf, maybe a little lower. What do you think about there? I think that looks nice. So I'm going to take that wire and wrap it round one way, and I'm going to take that wire and wrap it round the other way. Bring my fibre down, and then when I get to that leaf part, I'm just going to wrap it around and make sure that I There's my leaf. I'm going to bring it over the bottom of that little stem of the leaf and then carry on wrapping down. You could position the leaf before you wrap the florist tape. There's no right or wrong way of doing that. It's just whatever you feel works for you. Last little bit, I think. Just draft it out. Okay. I think that should get me to the end. Let's see. So I'm overlapping the last bit. Bring it round, sort of lock it on itself. And you will find that where you've got the wires, it's going to bulk it out a little bit. The waxing will help thin it a bit more, but it's inevitable that it's going to be a little thicker. So there we go, right down to the end. I'm just going to rub, sort of almost scrub those fibres into themselves. Get my needle. Oh, that's the bent one. And again, pretty much completely horizontal. Very careful with the needle. The wax is going to seal, pretty much all of this in, but it doesn't hurt. Yeah, I think that'll do it. And what we've got now is the lily and the leaf. Obviously, if you're putting these in a pot, the last kind of bit you're not going to see anyway. Okay, I'm just going to felt that bit down a little bit more. Got a little bit of white. Don't want that. So just a pinch. Pop it over that little white spot. A few little tacking stabs just to hold it in place. You can cover up any little bits. There, I think that will do it. So the wax melter's on again, and what we'll do is we'll start waxing not from right up here, but we'll start waxing from here, and then we'll wax down, minding our leaf. We won't wax this, we'll just wax all the way down, and then we'll come back up to the top and we will just blend the wax that's there upwards so that it kind of fades out and makes a nice transition between the wool and the wax stem. Okay, so my melter's on. For those that are interested, this is a Glade wax melter. It's for the air freshener wax discs that you get, and it usually comes with a lid or a dish that you melt your scented wax in. I get rid of that part and I just use these jumbo tea lights, which I get from Asda, and they come with a jasmine candle, and they're like £2.50 for 12 of them. So I just pull out the candle and use one tea light case to melt the candles in as I use them, and then I steal the others for my various colours. Okay, so you're going to need your wax transferring thing, and just melt that off. We're not going to add very much at one go, like we did with the stamen. It's just going to be small additions, working our way down the stem. You could, if you wanted to, just use a piece of foil and wrap the leaf if you feel that you might drip on it, which, saying that now, I probably will, but it's okay. So I'm just going to take my wax, let me just bend that leaf back down out of the way, tempt fate. And then once you've got the wax on, just spread it over a bit. But just using a bit of foil to protect the head and the leaf. Once you've got a bit of wax on in the area, just get your fingers and lightly, to begin with, this has got a good amount of working time. It stays quite malleable, but you can see that it goes really nicely. And don't forget, you can always reapply some heat to melt anything that's a bit white. Don't panic if it starts getting a bit messy. I've touched this too soon. My patience. So it can kind of pull the fibres up, but don't panic if that happens. Just wait a few seconds for the wax to cool a little more, and then just go over it. You can see now it's coming back in. So a little bit more. And that all important weight. It's still a little bit hot, but I shall persevere through it. There we go. And we're just doing this all the way down. You can see that we've got a good finish. It really seals everything. It looks, I feel, quite realistic. I'm getting wonderfully messy. So now we're coming to where the leaf is. Got to be a little careful, because I don't want to mess up my leaf. I'm going to use my little spatula. I'm just going to touch the tip in there and then just bring that in. So I'm just touching the tip, using that sort of little precision tip just to rub some wax into that join. Now this is cooler. I'm going to twist that in. Now we've got some wax right up to that sort of leafy join. So I'm going to take my leaf and push it up the other way. Hold it strategically off of my little stem. Pop some more wax. Again, I'm going to use the edge of my spatula. So I'm just taking it up to where that leaf join meets. Nearly there. So I'm just going to pop. I'm going to be very quick and just pop wax down a bigger area. And then I'm going to rub this in. Now I'm being very, very quick with this now. But there we go. A quick race to the finish line, but you can spend a little longer. Remember, with the wax you can always add a little bit more. It becomes more difficult if you need to remove the wax. But there is a waxed stem, which is perfect because I've got some build up of wax here that I will need to remove. But what I'll do now is clear this away, give it a bit of a tidy up, and then I can show you how to get rid of all of this sort of residual wax. So I've cleared away the wax melter and all of the mess that I made. And as you can see, I've got some sort of gnarly white bits where the wax hasn't soaked in because I've applied too much. And what I'm going to do now is just show you how I fix that. You can use a hairdryer or a heat gun. I think I mentioned this earlier. If you don't have a temperature sort of setting, then you need to work out how far away you need to hold the thing, because you don't want to melt the wax too much too quickly. For those who are interested, just move my other camera. I've got this. This is a desoldering station. Some of you might know that I make kind of gadgets and things, but this has a really nice temperature setting, and you tell it what temperature you want it to be, and it will do from about 100 up to about 450 degrees. And the 100 degrees is very nice for just gently melting the wax. So what I'm going to do is set it to 100. I've put down a little bit of tissue paper. This will absorb anything that sort of runs off. And then with your, just find a sort of a good bit to show you. Here, just apply some gentle heat, and you'll see that it will just disappear into the wool. And you can blend it out. Just go over it nice and lightly. And that's how you just get rid of all of those sort of white build-ups. Nice little bit of heat. And then for the very, very top here, I'm just going to go around where that sort of line is between the wax and the wool transition. Go around there, and that will just really fade it out. Let me just turn that over. It becomes almost seamless. So once you've waxed all of your bits down the stem and you're happy with your aesthetic, then that is pretty much it. Let me just turn that off a second. So I've got a little bit more to finish up here on the stem, so I'm going to do that off of camera, and then we'll come back and do final sort of shaping for the Calla lily. So I finished waxing or reducing the wax on the stem with my little heat gun. Still a little warm, but you can see that all of that gnarly whiteness has gone. I've just got this lovely waxed finish. Now all we have left to do, and that would be the same principle if you had any white bits on your stamen that you wanted to take off, you'd do exactly the same things we've just done with the stem. So there's my lily, and all I would do now, obviously I'm doing this on the flat, you would do this on the upright, but as I would just shape that leaf to stand however you want it. And then obviously put it in your arrangement. If you feel that this will be something that you'll need to judge when you're assembling it, if you feel that this little bit of the stem needs a bit more support, then you want to leave those green wires in and use those to help support this bit as well. That's fine for what I want. It's got a nice little bounce, so it adds some sort of natural movement to the plant. Let's have a look at the top. My lily petal is unfurling quite nicely. We've got that sort of nice turn back sort of shape, and then you can just curl back the top if you want. You can have it straight up. It's purely aesthetics at this point. It's what you like. If you want to make the short one like I did earlier, then what I've done is I've just put the leaf and just sort of having the leaf caressing the sort of main trumpet of the flower. I did shorten the stick quite a bit, but you've got enough in the kit to make 3 full-size Calla lilies and I think at least 3 leaves. So there you go, finish it off with some ribbon. I have made some black ones, which I'm in the process of playing with. I don't know whether to go completely abstract and maybe have, you know, purple stamens and maybe do them for Halloween or something like that. But, you know, this is the classic, but, you know, don't be afraid to play with the, you know, with the templates and stuff. So maybe some black lily pictures will be coming soon. Okay, that's the Calla lily finished. Short version, long version, decorative. I would love to see, as always, some of your pictures. If you make these, do send them to me or share them to the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/mumsmakery. Please do subscribe to the channel. It would be great to have you with me. Hit the bell icon. You'll get the notification of when I upload new content. And I wish you all a very crafty day.